who wants some interview tips. Hi guys, I'm Beck. This is Talk and Chalk, and you can hear my voice is very, very croaky. I haven't been the best, and if you saw my previous video, you'll notice I had no voice whatsoever. However, I want to persevere because this is a video that has been extremely sought after. I've had lots and lots of messages and PMs and comments and everything asking when I would do this video, and it's getting towards the end of the term, so I really need to get it done so that people can utilize it. Hopefully it's beneficial. I'm just going to go through my personal interview tips. So this isn't the stock standard. This isn't the be all and end all. Please don't take it as gospel. It's just my personal advice that I would give to anyone going to interview. And these are things that I have implemented myself when I have gone to interview as well. So by the end of this video, hopefully you've got a bit of insight to maybe some things that you could do to maybe improve your performance at interview, or maybe just to help you prepare and keep you calm when you go to interview. And keeping in mind as well that any interview I have done has been in the department system in New South Wales, following the protocol that we use across those systems. But I mean, obviously some of these strategies you could probably use in any scenario, provided it came up that way. So I've got my trusty notebook that I've put notes in. Before I start getting into these though, I really need to do a big massive shout out to all the wonderful people who saw my message about Facebook restricting my posts to groups. When I got the notification from it, it doesn't give you much detail. It pretty much says a variety of reasons that you may have been restricted. And in those reasons, it says that, you've been reported for various things. And it could be being racist or discriminatory, which obviously I have not been. And one of the things in there could be that you've posted too much to different groups. Now, I haven't had this as an issue in the past. So I've been contacted by a number of people who have said that Facebook can automatically, it's just an automatic thing if you've posted a certain amount of times to different groups. Now, I only post to a certain amount of educational groups. So if you're in those groups, you know which ones I post to. What happened though is that while I was sick, I missed my posting for Clever Pickles. So on one day, I did all my Clever Pickles posts and all my Talk and Chalk posts. And I also put some dresses on the Facebook Marketplace to sell as well. So I'm hoping that's the reason I got restricted, and not that someone has actually reported me, which is a possibility as well. If someone has reported me and you're watching this, please know I don't do this to self-promote. I don't do this to make money. I definitely don't make money off this at all. I just do this to help other teachers. So if anyone ever wants to contact me in regards to concerns they've got about my channel, please contact me. I'm happy to talk. Otherwise, let's just hope it was an automated thing from Facebook, and I'm going to make sure I track how often I post and where I post, and make sure that's not too close together and avoid that happening ever again. But seriously, the amount of people that took the time to contact me and let me know that they find the channel beneficial, that they've gained from it, they want me to keep making more videos, that really, really touched my heart, because, it's not easy to contact a stranger and let them know those things. Truly, I do appreciate it, and it's kept me positive about this. If someone has reported it, well, then it's one person, and you know what? They don't need to be watching. Everyone else that has said they use it. And I looked today and the channel has reached over 900 subscribers. So I'm kind of hoping I reach 1,000 before Christmas. That would be cool. Something to celebrate. I have to do something wonderful for 1,000, like a giveaway or something. Let's get to interview tips though. Okay, so I apologize for my croaky voice, but I'm going to persevere. So you notice I've got my suit jacket on today. My personal preference is to suit up. And that doesn't necessarily mean wearing a pantsuit. That's your personal preference. I've worn pantsuits, I've worn skirts, I've worn dresses. When I do choose skirts and dresses though, I usually sit down on a chair in front of a mirror and make sure it's not sort of scooching up to an inappropriate height. I make sure that it's semi-comfortable, so I'm not fidgeting and touching things. And, I do things with my hands all the time, so I don't want to emphasize that too much. But the jacket makes such a difference. It makes you look more professional. I don't know where I came across this tip, but someone said that the make of a suit, because you've got this stitching across here and sometimes they have shoulder pads and it gets a bit tighter under the arms there. Somewhere along the line I learned that putting on a suit jacket actually makes you sit upright. When you sit upright, you present confidence just in the way that you're sitting. And I guess it means that you're getting more air to your diaphragm. You don't run out of breath. You hear me all the time run out of breath because I get too excited in these videos. So I'm probably going to do it more now that I'm wearing a suit jacket. I recommend it though. Like I usually wear my hair off my face, so I'm not fidgeting and touching with it. Plain standard makeup if you're someone who likes to wear makeup, not going out with a massive eyeliner and all those sorts of things. Like dress appropriately, dress professionally. And if you're really unsure about what to wear, I always think of school photo day, or parent-teacher meetings. Those days when you dress up like that, present yourself professionally, that's how you might want to dress for an interview. Okay. Arrive early. So if the interview starts, if they've told you that you need to start at 9:15, that you're going to get your questions at 9:15, and then the interview starts at 9:30, get there before 9:15. Don't guarantee yourself parking. It's a school, especially if you're first thing in the morning. We know there's traffic everywhere, so arrive with plenty of time. If it means sitting in your car for 20 minutes, reading your notes, then you're sitting in your car for 20 minutes, not sitting in traffic for 20 minutes. So give yourself plenty of time. The Superman pose. I don't know if you've ever seen this. I'm positive it's a TED Talk. If it is, I'll drop it in the comments below, in the description below. I'm sure it's a TED Talk. I watched this talk, a woman who, there's like a science behind this. There's research behind this where if you stand in the Superman pose for 30 seconds, it increases your confidence. I can't give you the science behind it. I don't know why, but I do it. So I try and do it in a space, obviously, where no one can see me. Even if it means just opening up your car door and just sort of standing there, making it look like you're having, a stretch and watching things around you. Apparently this works. And if you're someone who struggles with presenting yourself with confidence, this might be something for you. Stretch yourself out, do the Superman pose. Might be called the hero pose. Hero pose, hold it for 30 seconds. If you don't want to do it, if you feel stupid, don't do it. Just a suggestion. Okay. Let's keep going. Before you go, reread the criteria, because we spend so much time writing our CV. Sometimes we get lost in our points and what we're going to do and how we're trying to express ourselves that we forget to go back to the original criteria and look for what they're after. Try and read between the lines of the criteria. If they're talking about being flexible and being resilient, chances are they need someone that can handle things being thrown at them. So think of that when you're mentally preparing for answers. So foresee the expectations that they've got it by reading between the lines of that criteria. When you get in there, obviously, if the opportunity is available, shake hands, welcome everyone. In our system, we get told the names of the people that are there. If you have time to try and, memorize those names, that's a good thing. Don't stress. If you're someone who can't remember names very well, you're not going to be addressing them all by name in there all the time. It's just a nice touch if you can do it. When you are talking to them on the panel, make sure you're addressing everyone by using eye contact. Don't just spend the whole time talking to the principal or the whole time talking to the teacher rep. All of those people on that panel have an equal share in deciding who gets that position. You need to speak to them equally at each time. Now, sometimes each panel member may have come up with a question each, and that might be why they answer it. They may have formulated the questions all together and have just gone, all right, you're first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So that's why that person over there might have really wanted that question, even though that person over there asked it. So you need to make sure you're talking to each of them and making eye contact. All right. Try not to regurgitate your CV. They've already read it. They've read it a number of times if you've gotten to interview. Try not to regurgitate things that are on there. If there's something on there to elaborate on and really go into detail, then do that. And even call address to it. Oh, you've seen on my CV that I organized blah, blah, blah. And then blah, blah, blah. Here was the really detailed version of it, as long as it applies. If you've got something extra that you knew could have gone into that criteria on the CV and there just wasn't room to do it, this is your opportunity to talk about it and elaborate. I did all of these things that you can see in my CV. However, I've also done blah, 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 blah. When you're answering, think of those levels of the school. So I said this when I did my video about writing job applications. Try and address all of the stakeholders in your answer. This can be tricky sometimes. And this is when you need to practice some answers, out loud to yourself, either in the car, in a mirror or whatever. So when you're thinking of the stakeholders, it's students, teachers, parents, community, and then you might have more explicit levels within the community. So you might have Aboriginal community, the EALD community, you might have refugees in there. It just depends on what's going on. You might have a really, really active P&C. Try and cover all of that. And you'll know these things if you've done your research and gone to the website, gone to the school plan, read their annual school report, and check out their newsletters. You will really see what's happening in a school if you use those newsletters. Read them, and then when you get in there, you'll just be able to talk as if you've been there for months. Where possible, try and include evidence of your successes. So talk about percentages of students, that increased in reading levels or whatever it pertains to. If you're looking at parent engagement, how many more parents did you get into the school volunteering or attending information nights or whatever. That doesn't mean to necessarily go out and try and generate evidence. Just if you've got it, have it on hand ready to answer. And you should have all of these things in a note. I always have all my notes ready either on the Surface Pro or I have it in a notebook, just random notes ready to go, so that when I get my sheet of questions, I'm just transferring information into the right segment. Sometimes you might get asked to speak about a particular scenario. So you've got the criteria there, some possible scenarios that might go with it. And if you've got that written out, ready to go, you can just make some dot points on that and not waste too much time doing your question preparation time. And then it's ready to go. And then you've practiced it in your head a couple of times as well. You know it. You're not caught off guard when you do it. So, they might, I'm trying to think of an example. I think one time when I was at interview, I was asked what I would do if a parent complained about a home reading book that they felt was inappropriate. What would I do? That was a bit of a random one. But they're not looking at necessarily the issue with the home reading book. They're looking at how you would communicate with the parent. Do you listen to their problem? Who do you go and talk to next? What are the next steps that happen? What organization and interpersonal skills have you got with related to that? They're not wanting to know your experiences with home reading or how well you know about PM reading levels. They want to know how you interact with the parent. You can have some artifacts ready just in case. I highly recommend pictures. Pictures are easier. Don't take in student work samples or anything like that. Just have a picture of it. If part of the criteria is talking about organizing whole school events or creative arts or sports or something like that, you can have some photos of events that you've run before. And look how happy the kids are, and look how well organized it is, and look at all the parents that turned up. Great engagement. So if you've got pictures, and like I said, I'm still going to rave about the Surface Pro. It turns on easy. It's ready to go. I can have them up, ready and waiting. So I can just go, check this out here. Here's my artifact. Having major points about the school in a mind map ready to make quick connections. So for example, like you draw the mind map, put the name of the school in the middle, and then do some things sort of in blurbs around the outside that are the key points. And you'll get some of these key points from the school description that was in the job advertisement. How many students are there? How many EALD are there? How many refugee? How many Aboriginal students are there? Do they have an active P&C? Put that in a section. And then when you go to the school plan, what are their strategic directions? What was the main professional development that they did to meet those strategic directions? And just list them off. Is it L3? Is it 10? Is it, words their way? Whatever it is. Just put it in words there, ready to go, so that off the top of your head things that you can connect to. So for me, I've done L3 training this year. I can connect straight to L3 training. I'm going to talk about that and make sure that I reassure them that I don't need to spend professional learning money doing that because I'm already trained. And then you might have some other areas in there that really stand out. Are they a big school that, does lots of sports? Are they a small school that loves doing performing arts? What can you gauge about that school that you can relate to and make a connection to? Just have that in a mind map ready to go, because then you've got that again when you get your question preparation time. When you're in the interview itself, this is hard to do sometimes, and it takes a bit of practice, is tracking the time. So as soon as you get that question sheet and you see how many questions you've got, you can estimate how long you've got on each question. So let's pretend you've got your sheet of paper. They've given you 6 questions. You've got an average of 5 minutes per question. And you really need to stick to that. Don't take 10 minutes on one question and then 3 minutes on another. It makes you look very inconsistent, and you really want to be succinct. You want to make yourself look as informed and well prepared as your document did. Your CV would have got you to interview because you presented yourself well, and you need to do the same thing at interview. Be consistent. Being professional But, let them see your passion. It's one thing to be professional across the board and know all of your data and statistics and know all the rules and expectations and roles and responsibilities and policy and procedure. But I love teaching kids. I love being in the classroom. I love seeing that light bulb moment. Show them your passion. Tell them the things that you connect with. Keep it super professional so they know that you're the right person for the job. But let them see your passion too. We want connectedness. Key words that I like to use in interview are, being flexible, being resilient, and really establish with them that you have got the skills to meet their school needs. You make sure you state things clearly and own the successes you had. If you keep talking about the wonderful team that you have that's back at the school and you all worked together and came up with some really, really good things, they're going to think that's a great team. They're not hiring a team. They're not employing a team. They're employing one person. You need to show them that you're the one person that can do it, whether it's being a teacher, whether it's being an aspiring leader, whether it's being an exec. You need to show them you're the one person for that job, that the one person who fits that role is not the lovely team that you work with. It's great that you've got that, but you are the one person for the job. Okay. Questions to expect. I see this a lot on our Facebook groups. What questions might I expect at interview? And we can all give our examples. Some are similar, but they're so diverse. And that's really reflective of the fact that all of our schools are different. They're going to ask you different questions because they've got different expectations, they've got different needs, and really they're trying to meet that school dynamic that they've got. Just because you are absolutely wonderful at what you do doesn't necessarily mean you'll be the right fit for that dynamic that's in that school. And we need to be willing to accept that. Sometimes it's just not the right fit. But here's some that I've seen across the board, whether it's been me being interviewed, whether it's me interviewing someone else, or if it's just other people I know that have gone to interview. These are some of the standards that I've come across. So talking about initiatives that you have run or been involved in, or if you've led them. And so just discussing them and how they worked and how you've organised and collaborated with people. Giving an example of a success or a failure and how you responded to that. So that's trying to gauge, obviously, how you've responded to something that was wonderful or something that just didn't work out. You might get given a scenario and asked how you would respond to it. So the one I was talking about with the home reading. So they might throw something at you there and then ask you how you would respond. Really read between the lines on that question. What are they trying to see out of you? How would you make connections or build relationships? So this might be related to a community criteria. It might be related to EALD or refugees or anything like that. It could be working with local businesses, building up the reputation of the school. So how would you go about doing that? And really, that is a great spot to talk about, parents, community, and other stakeholders that are in the school. So they might be affiliated with different businesses. They might be affiliated with different services. You can really tie in with things like working with your LST or your counsellor or OTs and speechies. Experiences you've had dealing with difficult situations. So if this comes up, they just want to know that you're resilient, that you're calm-headed, that you respond by using policy and procedure, and that you can relate to people, as a human being, that you understand people make mistakes, but that you've got to move on from that. And this is how you move on, taking steps to move forward, always taking steps to move forward. So if you're talking about difficult situations, it's never about how did you sit in the now. It's how did you get from the difficult situation to progress, to development. Okay, your understanding of something specifically needed in that school, like special needs or making connections with the community, or it could be dealing with difficult behaviour. So they may be specific about that, and they'll ask you, what is your understanding of this? And this can be tricky sometimes because are they asking for knowledge, skills, experience, opinions? And you need to try and layer that throughout. And again, trying to keep those key stakeholders in it. If we're talking about managing difficult behaviour, we're talking about managing the actual behaviour of the students. We're talking about collaborating with our teachers, utilising our executive, using the learning support team, connecting with parents, and then Going on further from that, again, those other services that might be involved. Do they have a pediatrician? Do they go to behavior management? Do they go to outside school sport? Making those connections. There are always levels to these things. Just because they might be asking about a student need doesn't mean you only have to answer about the student need. Show them how well-rounded you are when it comes to meeting those students' needs. Experience is differentiating for students. So, differentiation is everything that we're doing at the moment. If you're part of an early action for success school, talk about meeting those targets, about aligning what you're doing with plan and continuum and things like that. What professional development you've had and processes in the classroom. If they're an L3 school and you are not trained in L3, doesn't matter. You can talk about the fact that you know what L3 is and you know those processes that are there, or that you have had other ways of differentiating to meet your student needs. And if you've got the data to back it up, then it doesn't matter if you're not doing the same program or pedagogy that they're doing. Talk about the successes in your classroom when you're talking about differentiating for student needs, and then relate it to another level. Talk about how you've collaborated with your team, how you've shared resources, how you've worked with your exec, or how you may have gone into another classroom and demonstrated or team taught, whatever. Using 21st century or future focused learning strategies. So, we're looking at flexible classrooms. We're looking at peer feedback. We're looking at, sorry, my throat's starting to go now. This is getting drier. I'm almost done. So looking at all those models, you know what future focused learning is. So, if that's something that's been in their school plan, then talk about it. Even if it's not in their school plan, that is a big buzzword that's going around at the moment. I personally think it's deeper than a buzzword, but, it's language that we're using. Wellbeing initiatives is another one as well at the moment. We know kids are in a different time with different needs, and that doesn't necessarily mean welfare. Welfare and well-being can have two different paths. So if they're specifically using the word well-being, have a look at things that are in your school or that you've had experience with. What are you doing in your classroom? And seeing if you can pull it out. And if there's no way to answer if you feel there is no way to answer a question, I want you to dig down and go back to those levels. How does this pertain to students, teachers, executive, parents, community? And see if you can find where you can slot yourself in and then expand out for your answer. So, it's not a must to try and level it out like that. That's just a good way for you to try and gauge all of your answers, because your rep will have community rep, parent rep, Aboriginal, it could be a representative from the AACG or some from the community or the PNC as well. You might have a director's rep. You could have a Fed rep sitting in there. So you'll know this beforehand as well, though, and that can give you a gauge on what they're looking for too. All right, that was the last thing I had in my notes, and my voice is definitely going, so I think I'll stop there. But please, if you've got any questions or comments, put them down below. Send me a PM. I'm going to share this video onto my Facebook page, which is linked below the Talk and Chalk page. I will link it on Twitter, but unfortunately I can't share this one to groups on Facebook. So, if you belong to those groups and you would like to share this or tag a colleague or share it on your own page, tag a colleague, I would very much appreciate you did that, because a lot of people have been asking for this video and I really don't want them to miss it. If you've got any other suggestions for future videos, we've only got 5 weeks left of term. I still plan on doing more videos over the holidays though, so if you've got anything that you really want me to cover before the end of term, please comment or send me a message so I can add it to the list. And if there's ones that I deem pretty urgent, I'll try and do those ones as soon as possible. Thank you for putting up with my voice at the moment. Hopefully it will be much clearer for my video on the weekend. Remember, I post middle of the week, and on the weekend I try and do 2 each week. So thank you very much for your support, guys. I love you very much. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to chuck my button down there, so if you haven't subscribed, you can hover over that and help me get to 1,000 subscribers. And what I will do is I will put my video at the top here on writing job applications in case you missed it. And I will very much look forward to seeing you in my next video with a much clearer voice. Thanks, guys. Bye.